What's up, everybody? It's your favorite show, Get a Bucket. I'm your host, Trey, and as usual, I hope you're all having a wonderful, wonderful day. Today, we're going to talk about the WNBA Week 13 updates, which is going to be talking about my expectations of each team after the All-Star break. But before we do that, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, comment, tell anyone who's anyone about the show. Trying to get the ratings up a little bit, just a little bit. And if you wonder where you heard this before, that's because you've been listening with me Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I greatly appreciate your support. Now, told y'all, we got the expectations for all 15 teams in the WNBA post the All-Star performance, right? The All-Star weekend. And the reason why I'm doing it specifically like this is because now that we've seen each team as long as we have, we only have but so much more season until we get to the postseason, ladies and gentlemen. So we've seen a lot. These teams have shown us a lot. And we still got a couple of question marks. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about them. The expectations for each team. Off top, let's work our way from the bottom to the top. The Seattle Storm, they're currently at the bottom of the barrel, right? Yeah, they're looking to get the top pick in the draft. Biggest winner, maybe, if Juju leaves, right? That could be something to note. But yeah, that's my expectation for the Seattle Storm. Don't get me wrong. I'm looking forward to seeing Dominique Malonga, our fam, play some solid basketball. Ezzy Magbagor being injured is throwing a little wrinkle into my plans right now, because I did want to see how Ezzy comes in pairs with Dominique and Owl, because to be honest with you, that could be the 3, 4, and 5 of their teams, of this team. So I just want to see how that Storm trio look paired with Flage and maybe even Natisha Heidemann. That could be a very stout team for the future. But right now, bottom of the barrel. And it's also to note too, they have like the second toughest schedule remaining. I don't expect them to do nothing different. So bottom of the barrel right now, come the end of the season, should be around the same thing. If they move up, that's another discussion. But let's talk about the Connecticut Sun. I think it's fair. This is going to be the time period where they fairly assess their young talent, given that their strength of schedule is actually quite favorable. Like, it's not, I would say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, there's 5 other teams that have an easier schedule than the Connecticut Sun. And keep in mind, this is the second worst team. So, we already know what Brittany Griner can do. But how do the other young players on their team perform? Like, maybe we get to see Anissa Morrow get a bucket. Like, I'm genuinely curious who on the Sun I would actually want to pay attention to the most. Shania Rivers has been good for me, at least. It's some improvement points for sure. But there's some fair. This is the time to fairly assess the team. I'm sorry. There's no other way to classify. I don't have the Sun going up any higher than where they are right now, honestly. So we can go on a little higher to the Chicago Sky. This one's tough because they're kind of in a similar scenario as the Connecticut Sun. You get to assess them going up against competitive level of young players, okay? Now, when I say that, the Chicago Sky have about 4 teams with a tougher strength of schedule remaining, okay? And keep in mind, the Chicago Sky are currently 13th in the WNBA, standing-wise. Yeah, that's not looking that good. They've been dealing with injuries, right? Rakia Jackson, that's a major blow. They did get Courtney Vandersloot back. That's cool. I don't have this guy going too much further than where they are right now, personally, especially given the strength of schedule. But again, this will be a fun time to assess their young talent, their young players, going up against competitive competition. So I'm thinking about next season. Really, for all these teams, have been next season. But this guy definitely going to be focusing on next season. Now, the Phoenix Mercury. It's tough to say, bro, that they're cooked because they have the toughest strength of schedule remaining. Now, here's the thing. All right, here's the thing. If I'm looking at teams above, right, we're talking about the Fire, the Tempo, and my Sparks. I still think there's a world where they can usurp those teams. It's the teams like the Mystics. Do the Mystics drop enough? Now, mind you, I did talk about my Sparks being able to make it and make a comeback. And I said there was one other team that I want to talk about, and I didn't want to talk about them right then. And that's because it was, in fact, the Phoenix Mercury, which ironically, they beat my Sparks that day when I made the podcast, right? I was so irritated. But there's a part of me that feels like they're cooked. But if they aren't cooked, if they win and have the toughest strength of schedule, that may be a very scary Mercury team. They still have Alyssa Thomas. They still have Kalia Copper, right? DeWanna Bonner's no slouch. And if they can get their players back to being healthy, I think that's going to be a big storyline later on as the season progresses. So again, paying attention to the Phoenix Mercury because they are an interesting team despite being 12th in the WNBA currently point in time and having the toughest strength of schedule remaining. Now, I mentioned the other teams, right? We got my Sparks. This one's easy, quick. Kelsey Plum, she got a return. That's the important. Like that. That's extremely important right there. How other top teams if the other top teams lose, that's going to help out for sure. But my Sparks, we just got to wait to see how Kelsey Plum returns because we have I think there are about 5 other teams that have a tougher strength of schedule than us. So that's going to also make our job a little bit tougher, but it's not the toughest strength of schedule. And we do have good talent around us, even without Kelsey Plum not playing due to injury. So again, even when we insert Kelsey Plum back into the lineup, we should have enough talent to at least withstand dropping too low. Like right now, we 11th. We could climb up to 9th. So again, it's a matter of how we do while Kelsey's out, and then how long will Kelsey be out. Those are very important factors. But Nneka's got to keep playing at an MVP level, to be clear, for us to not drop too far. But that's enough about my Sparks. I've already talked about this. The Toronto Tempos, listen, injuries, right? They go as far as Brittany Sykes and Marina Mayberry carry them. Brittany's been injured. Strength of schedule makes my playoff worries even worse. Yeah, the Tempo, they got a top 4 strength of schedule in terms of toughest. So that's not boding well. Marina Mayberry can score for sure, but this is already a new team and you're already dealing with injuries. Kiki Rice, the player you just drafted first, injured. It's just tough. So I don't expect the Tempo to change their tempo and get into the playoffs personally. I really don't. That's no knock on the Tempo. That's due to injuries and also the strength of schedule currently point in time. Similarly with the Fire, right? Like the Fire, I think they don't have the same injury concerns, okay? They have an easy strength of schedule. So maybe, they have an easy strength of schedule. So maybe that can help them push into the playoffs. Is there a possibility that they can do that? Maybe, but it's going to be predicated on teams like the Mystic, the Sparks, they got to lose in order for the Fire to win. That's just my personal opinion. Again, new organization, they got to figure some things out. But that's I think how the Fire win person. So, if I'm the Fire, I'm actually looking to lose, but they may be in purgatory for a quick second. So let's figure it out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these 8 teams, these are the playoff teams currently. So let's talk about them real fast. I've talked about them before, so I'm just going to give a quick little liners about them so that y'all can go back and listen. But we're going to start off with the Mystics, okay? If they reach the playoffs, I think it's safe to say they have earned it. Have earned it more than any other team. They have the toughest strength of schedule remaining. And keep in mind, this is the youngest team in the WNBA's history. So if they can do this, well, all right, they don't have the toughest, but it's the top 3 toughest, bro. They're going up against who? The Fever, the Liberty, the Lynx, and the Aces. Those are tough quality opponents, especially the Liberty and the Aces, ladies and gentlemen. So if they can do that while still being young and missing a quality point guard, because again, Georgia Moore, this is technically her rookie year. So they're still missing that point guard of the future. This is going to be a really tough stretch for the Mystics, who are currently already at 8th. And if I'm being honest with you, 1 through 7 might end up being locked up already. The 8th seed is the only seed that is up in the air, barring injuries, okay? So again, the Mystics, if they remain 8th, they will have earned it genuinely. And we think about going forward next seasons, we could talk about them being a 4th or 5th seed, expectation-wise. But I at least expect them to be an 8th seed when it's all said and done, going into the playoffs and being a tough out. So let's just wait to see what happens. But the Mystics, strength of schedule, plus talent, plus age, it's going to be a good one. The New York Liberty, listen, it's a good balance of teams remaining to gain cohesion. right? Like I'm less worried about playoffs point in time because of their remaining strength of schedule. Like they're kind of in that middle of the pack, if you will, like that moderate schedule with like a healthy mix of contenders and lottery teams. So because of that, I think they get good experience, good exposure. They get tested a little bit, but not tested too much to the point where their season's in jeopardy. And keep in mind too, they may want to be a lower seed team. Like maybe they want to go up against a team like the Valkyrie, who currently sit at number 2. Maybe they don't want to go up against the Lynx or the Aces. Maybe they would prefer going up against the team like the Wings or maybe even the Fever. The Wings actually have a really good schedule. We'll talk about them a little bit. But again, the Liberty, I'm kind of liking where they are right now as the season progresses because this team still has the deepest team. And it's just a matter of if Satu can come back healthy and the only Phoebus can come back healthy. If those two things happen and they're healthy entering the postseason, the most dangerous team in the WNBA, easily. But we got to wait and see what happens. The Dream, currently number 6, right? They need if they have a strong finish, that means that they've gotten over their inconsistency a little bit more than what I like to see. All right. Their strength of schedule remaining is around the same area as the New York Liberty. So again, I'm not worried about them missing the playoffs or dropping too far. It's simply a matter of, barring injuries, can they become more consistent? If they can, great. If they aren't, I may have to remove them from my contender status because that's where I have them currently. Again, they have the talent to be viewed as a contender. Can they get the job done? Have that cohesion, which granted they brought in Angel Reese, so that changes some things. But they've played together enough to where that one major change, that one big piece, shouldn't take too long for them to establish roles and become more consistent. So again, I'm looking at the inconsistency. So over the rest of the schedule, over the rest of the season, I expect to see them have a strong finish because I'm expecting them to not be as inconsistent as they have been, to be clear. So that's what I'm expecting of the Dream. Now, Indiana Fever, right? I think it's fair to say that they have a easy strength of schedule, right? Like they are maybe 11th out of 15th in terms of remaining strength of schedule, toughest wise. So they are the 11th ranked strength of schedule remaining, and yeah, they're in the 5th seed. Unless some teams like they got to go on a losing streak, bro. But here's why this is beneficial: because Caitlin Clark gets a good balance of good teams versus bad teams. When she goes up against bad teams, she performs really well. When she goes up against good teams, she gets brought down to earth some. And when I say some, quite a bit. So her getting these reps up, again, not worrying about playoffs as much now, then you can iron out some kinks. Again, this is a weaker strength of schedule that the Indiana Fever have. We've already seen Kelsey Mitchell produce well. We've seen Aaliyah Boston produce well. We've seen this team go to the, second round of the WNBA Finals. They gave the Aces the best run in that entire playoffs. Caitlin Clark, she was not playing during that time. So now we get to see what Caitlin looks like coming off that All-Star break. Got some expectations of the Fever, but more specifically Caitlin Clark, because we've seen what these players have done. We have not seen yet Caitlin Clark, again, due to injury. So with the current strength of schedule that they have, I'm expecting to see Caitlin Clark become more consistent and less turnover prone over this time period. If we don't get that, it's going to be an interesting playoff run for sure. But we'll wait to see what happens as time goes on. Now, with the Dallas Wings, they may remain a top 4 seed due to strength of schedule, which my question is, what does that do to Paige Becker's MVP case? Does that strengthen it, or does stating that they had a weak strength of schedule towards the second half, does that cripple it? Because other players, other teams have a stronger strength of schedule remaining. So something like that I do got to factor in, right? Like you got to consider. Also, her team has been doing pretty well. Rike, we know she has good talent. AZ Fudd just won the 3-point contest. So we know you got a ratty on you. Jessica Shepard, most improved player. We understand what this team is looking like. And again, they're looking more complete as time goes on. But Paige's MVP case, is it strengthening because of the strength of schedule? Or is it weakening? That's my curiosity. Before the season started, I didn't have them being this high. So I do want to keep her in there. but the strength of schedule does matter a little bit, especially when they've been relatively healthy. So again, shout out to the Wings. I expect them to remain the top 4 seed due to their strength of schedule. But that also means, too, if they drop, that's a knock against them because, again, their strength of schedule is fairly easy. They're a top 3 seed or top 4 seed with the bottom third strength of schedule remaining. We got to bode well. Now, the Aces, okay? The Aces, listen, they got an easy strength of schedule remaining, too. And so now they get to focus on replacing Kennedy Carter's value lost. Because I'm not expecting them to drop much. I'd probably expect them to drop no lower than 5th. But they could also vault back up to 2nd or even 1st as well, too, ladies and gentlemen. Because, again, they have an easy strength of schedule. They're 14 out of 15 when it comes to strength of schedule. That is a benefit playing against much lesser competition, which when I say much lesser, to be clear, teams who are not in the playoffs, right? So again, the Aces, they get to focus and regroup for the playoffs and trying to replace that Kennedy Carter value loss, which is 12 points in 17 minutes. Like Kennedy Carter was going to be 6th Woman of the Year, to be clear. So finding a replacement for that, that's a lot. That's a lot to focus on. So that's what I'm expecting to see of the Aces. If I see them losing, cool. How are they losing? That's what I'm focusing on. But again, they're paying attention on focusing to replace Kennedy Carter's value. So that's all I got on the Aces right now because we already know what they do, right? Like we've seen them over the last couple of years. Shouldn't be different too much, at least. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go on up to the Valkyries. Valkyries, I actually kind of expect them to slip just a little bit. Granted, the strength of schedule is not the same as it is with the Fever or the Wings or the Aces or even a team like the Lynx. So, again, if the Valkyries have a tougher strength of schedule, it makes sense for them to slip a little bit. Again, to be clear, the Valkyries are smooth, and if they stay at the 2nd spot or even go up to the 1st, now that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Because I definitely was not expecting that. Even right now, I'm genuinely expecting them to slip a little bit. How far? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to slip that far, but again, I do expect them to slip, given that their strength of schedule is right between the Connecticut Sun and the New York Liberty. So it's kind of that middle spot, if you will, but it's not necessarily easy. So again, Valkyries, Gabby Williams, have an MVP season, right? They have some good talent around them. They can get out of that stretch as a 2nd seed still. They can hit the playoffs as a 2nd seed. We may need to watch out for the Valkyries. I already say we do, but may need to talk about them as contenders. So again, this second half, that's going to show me if they really need to be contenders or not. But my expectations are they will slip a little bit. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the Minnesota Lynx. Listen, integrating Nafisa Collier into the lineup and working on your team chemistry, it's almost like a mid-season restart. All right, but keep in mind, though, this is the number 1 team in the league. They have the easiest strength of schedule remaining. And they got back arguably the best player in the WNBA. Top 3 for sure. But I said arguably the best player in the WNBA. This is looking like the Lynx's season to win, or more specifically, to lose. Because again, with the Liberty dealing with injuries, with the Aces losing Kennedy Carter because they gave her the boot, the Wings surprising but still not quite being the team that you think can win the title, the Fever still missing some things, like the Dream inconsistent, the Mystics still young, the Valkyries maybe they're missing a piece. This looks like it could be the Lynx's season to win it all, ladies and gentlemen, because right now they get to focus solely on Nafisa Collier pairing and working on her chemistry with Olivia Miles. We already know her and Natasha Howard are going to play well together because they can mirror one another. It's not like one's going to have to outshine the other in order for this team to thrive. No, actually, Natasha's already shown she can get a bucket and defend and rebound. Like, she can do what Nafisa does. Nafisa may be a little more prolific on the offensive end, and maybe even on the defensive end. But it's not at a large enough gap where I'm saying, oh, yeah, Tosh is no. Like she's good, bro. And then you still got Kayla McBuckets out there, Courtney Williams. The Lynx are in a really good situation, ladies and gentlemen. So again, I have to point out that the Lynx, again, my expectations, I don't know if they're going to drop past the first seed. And if they do, how long would they stay there? Because it's not like Nafisa's going to take up a lot of shots to where it makes no sense. Their starting five is probably the best in the league. So again, my expectation for the Lynx, they're going to be where they are. They're going to be a tough out if they do lose. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you heard my expectations for each team, all 15 teams in the WNBA. But I'm curious, what do you all think is going to occur after the WNBA All-Star weekend? Because again, we've seen these teams. Now we're going to see the rotations tighten up. We're going to see star players start to produce a little bit more because they understand the importance of playoffs coming up around the corner. Like it's about to hit August. September is when the playoffs start. And I don't know if y'all know the calendar, but after the month of August comes September. So again, you may want to start moving them puppies and valuing every possession of basketball because playoffs is around the corner. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that does conclude the end of the episode. So I'm curious, what are your expectations for each of the 15 teams in the WNBA? Let me know your thoughts. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell anyone who's anyone, one, about the WNBA and two, about my show. My name is Trey. I'm the host of Get a Bucket. I hope you are all having a good one. Take care.